start with recording, so I'll just say good afternoon, everybody, or good morning, wherever you are. I'm Ivan Ramirez, attorney licensed in Texas, and today we have attorney Alexis Gonzalez. He's licensed in the state of Florida, and today we're going to talk about real estate issues and dealing with international clients. So, Alexis, how are you doing today?
Doing well, doing well. Thank you, Ivan.
Excellent.
And hope everybody who's listening to this is doing well. We have a good topic here today, I think, for a big issue that you and I deal with a lot, which is with foreigners who are buying real estate. So it's a topic I think that interests a lot of realtors, brokers, and obviously foreigners who do a lot of investments over here in the United States.
Exactly. So, what are some other issues? So we talked about FERPTA, we talked about state taxes. What other issues you see, Alexis, in your practice with dealing with international clients buying real estate?
I mean, if you want to stick on that, on the same subject, I mean, trying to avoid probate's a great one. People
Oh,
don't understand
probate
the
issues. So,
probate,
okay,
right?
so
That's
tell
one
me,
of the things which
let's talk
goes with our
about that.
taxes, but
Okay,
that's another added cost, right? Something
okay,
that
so,
becomes it's something that can cost you, easily what 3% of the value of the property.
okay.
It's going to be months in dealing with. It depends the jurisdiction you're in. Here in Miami, you know, it's a nightmare. It's a very
So just to
high
back up a
volume
little bit,
county.
Alexis, just for our listeners, so what do we mean
Mhm.
by probate issues? What can you explain that to them? What is a probate and what does that entail?
Probate is yeah, probate's the administration of um of the deceased person, the person who passed away, their property that they
Okay,
owned in the United States. So
okay,
if that foreigner died with property here in Miami or in Texas, and there is not the proper structure in place that you and I are talking about through trust, and other business entities that we would structure, um, we would have to we would have to open up the probate administration process to get the courts involved to oversee the transfer of that property.
okay.
So
So,
that process is costly
okay,
and very time consuming and tedious.
correct.
It's just what it is. It's like, so one of the things that we always want to avoid, um I think, just regular estate planning, right? That's one thing we have to do whatever you can to avoid probate. Is our We
So
don't
it's
like probate.
so if I understand you correctly, Alexis, if an international client they purchase real estate in their name and they pass away, that's going to be subject to the probate process. Is
It
that
is, and even if they own an LLC or a corporation and the shares in that also has to go through probate,
okay?
unless there's other planning. At least in Florida it does. Unless there's other planning, and I think that could be statutory, depending on your state, whether shares in a company are a probatable asset. In Florida, they are.
Okay, great.
So it is better to, obviously, like you said, take that into consideration as well, and have, a structure in place that we could avoid FERPTA issues, we could avoid the estate death tax issue, and we could avoid probate.
Correct.
Huge, costly, all of them, costly, time consuming problems.
And that's assuming that the family members are not fighting. If they're fighting,
Oh,
that could potentially add years to the probate process, correct?
years and money
Yeah.
in having to defend, and the hiring of lawyers and litigation. Yeah, it's a nightmare. It is a real nightmare. If people really understood the nightmare
Mhm.
that it is, and how simple it is in reality when you look at it, how simple it is to avoid these problems, it's a
Okay,
no-brainer.
could you give us an example of how our international clients can avoid the probate process?
Well, exactly what you were saying, kind of what you do to avoid the estate tax issue, right? That by setting up, just as simple as setting up a trust, right? To own either the entities, that the entity that owns the property, if we're just being specific to real estate, but it obviously this is for any other property. Um, so just the setting up of a trust where we're leaving, other trustees in charge for, if something happens to us, at least you have someone there to be able to step in and manage, the issues with your property, and to be able to pass it down to your beneficiaries without having court involvement. I mean, it's that simple.
Excellent.
It's that simple, right?
Mhm.
how about with you? Same
I agree. Yeah, it's very simple to avoid probate, whether it's Florida or Texas or anywhere else here in the United States. If you have a trust that owns the real estate, or the trust owns the LLC or the corporation that in turn owns the real estate, that generally avoids probate. Not only is it less costly and more efficient, one of the big issues for international clients is privacy. Okay, so probate court is open records. Anyone can go to the probate courts and see what you have. Whereas if you have a trust, that's private. That's not subject to the court supervision, so it's not open records. So it's private planning. So that's another big issue. In addition to the avoiding probate, in addition to the estate taxes, is privacy. So with a
privacy,
trust,
and that is a big one.
yeah,
And that is a big one, especially for all of the foreigners that are investing over here. That typically becomes a big issue for many reasons.
yeah.
And does your trust, when you creating a trust for a foreigner, can it be a domestic trust? Does it have to be a
Mm.
trust that you create overseas?
Typically, we use US-based trusts, and they're very easy to administer. We don't have to have a bank trustee, which charges annual fees, typically, depending on the type of trust, of course. So it's a lot more efficient. They're easy to amend versus if we have a foreign trust, again, that may or may not be the best option depending on the client. But
Yes,
typically, Alex, we'd use US-based trusts.
US based trust.
Mhm.
And actually through trust, obviously it might not be the what the client wants because of maybe there's a lack of control, but even with trust, if you have the proper trustee in place, you could avoid FIRPTA issues
Yep,
as well, right?
exactly, exactly.
So
So
there's a lot of layers to all of this, right? There's a lot of layers that I think we would want people to understand that that's where our job comes in, and being able to have
exactly.
the time to analyze, go through their situation, go through what is it that they want, right? What are these people's goals? Like in any
Mhm.
business, we can analyze what are your short-term goals with your investment, what are your long-term goals, what's your family situation, and all that. Like all of this plays in. It's just we have to analyze and then go step by step to try to figure out what's the best plan for each individual client.
Exactly. I mean, we don't have cookie cutter plans.
Yeah.
We tailor the legal structure according to the client's individual needs, their individual family dynamics, and the amount of their investment. Is it one property? Is it multiple properties? And again, we have the solution, you and I, for our clients. It's just a matter of being proactive and implementing the solutions before the problems arise, like probates and people passing away and divorce issues or stuff, or lawsuits. So again, as long as they're proactive and we have the legal structure in place, it prevents a lot of problems in the future.
That's great. That was a good summary, I think, of the topic. And the next step is just you know to have realtors let their clients know, brokers to let their clients know, and anyone who sees this, so they could reach out to us, right? It's easy.
Absolutely. So right after, you'll see in the next slide all of our contact information, and please feel free to reach out. We're here to help.
Yeah, 100%. That's what we do.
Well, thank you very much for listening in today. Thank you, Alexis, for your time,
Thank
and
you, Ivan.
uh, and we'll see you on the next segment.